Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to Pinky Hooks. I am Shania Lancaster, and I would like to say thank you for tuning in for tonight's topic. So, this is the topic that I was supposed to talk about a couple of nights ago, but I told you guys when I made that video, I had intended to talk about something different. And this is it. So, of course, everybody's talking about the submarine. Now, I know you guys are probably like, Cheyenne, you're so late, but something like that you're never late for, because it is still an ongoing topic. People are saying, why? How could this possibly have happened? Why would these people take a chance with something? I've heard all kinds of things, as when you saw that it was like a PlayStation remote control, did you want to back out or whatever? Or, like, how can these billionaires be like, I mean, they didn't question it, they didn't question the whole entire thing. I mean, yeah, there's so many different avenues that I have been down in my mind with this. Now, yeah, I'm sitting up here smiling because y'all know that's what I do. But really, it is disturbing if you think about it. It's disturbing on so many levels. One of the levels that is disturbing on is that people are that filthy rich. I mean, yeah, we all know that there are people with an excessive amount of money. Like, that is almost sickening. Now, I guess people can't help it. Don't get me wrong. I am not judging, and I'm not putting down, and I'm not jealous of people who have that kind of wealth. However, when you have that kind of wealth, you have to be responsible. You have to be responsible in everything, not just taking care of the money that you have, but you have to be responsible in thinking, the things that you do, the things that the money can give, or how can I say it? The things that you can access with that type of money. There you go. And I feel like that is definitely one of these avenues that we're going to explore a little bit, because when I was talking to my dad about it, me and my dad, we tend to think alike. And of course, both of us agreed that, oh, this is a classic case of I have so much money and I'm bored, and what can I do next? Because I've done everything. I truly believe that. But we also came to the conclusion that a lot of people who do things like this, I don't know, I feel like it's more so for bragging rights. I mean, think about it. If these people had survived and they made it back, right? Pretty much, I mean, like, I don't know, yeah, a couple of newspaper articles would have covered it, like this billionaire, this billionaire, this billionaire and their son, they have a story to tell, and I interviewed them, and you're reading this article and you're like, wow, you may be fascinated, you may not, but I feel like it's what, 5-10 minutes of fame, even though they don't need the fame, being that they're famous, whatever. Maybe a couple of Tonight TV shows, Hollywood Access, I don't know, would have reached out to them and say, hey, I want to interview you so you can tell me your experience of going down and seeing, like a legend, that everyone knows the story behind the Titanic. I feel like after that moment has passed and the interviews are out the way or whatever, okay, I guess in my mind, you could, like, it makes a great conversation piece, like at a dinner party, but think about it. I'm just about to give y'all this image. So let's say it was me and I survived and I came back, now I have you guys, I have a channel. I don't know if I would have had the channel if I was a billionaire, but let's just play along. But anyway, I'm just going to act like all of you guys who are my subscribers, I'm going to act like I have physical access to y'all every day. The only thing that I could think of in my mind is that I'm just going to come back and be like, oh yeah, guess what? I went down, like into the depths of the dark sea where no man has gone before, and I saw the remains of the Titanic. At that point, at some point in my group of friends or people, y'all might be smiling, but some of y'all going to be thinking like, wow, she's just really rubbing it in our faces about how much money she has and how she was able to access it. And then some of y'all be holding a drink and smiling in my face like, who cares? What I'm saying is, when people do those types of things, like for instance, what was that guy's name? Don't y'all know I'm horrible with names and sayings and pronunciations. Who's the guy, the Bezos guy that paid all that money to orbit in the space around the moon or something like that? Or didn't he take a liftoff trip or something? I don't know. My whole point is, it's like, okay, yeah, it made the news. Why it made the news, I'm not really sure. It's not like he did something that hasn't been done before. Granted, only the astronauts go, right? But think about it. It would be different if we had never orbited into space. But we have a million times. I don't know about the landing of the moon thing. I never believed it. Don't y'all come for me. But what I'm saying is, it's just because this dude has a lot of money and all of a sudden it became news. Why is that? Why is it that when people who have an excessive amount of money, and I'm not talking about like, okay, yeah, they donated to some, country where they don't have running water or there's no food, or, they opened up some fabulous charity or pet sanctuary, whatever the case is. To me, that's news. Why? Because it's serving people. It is serving people. It's serving animals, whatever. It is a form of serving. However, when they have this kind of money and they're taking trips into space and orbiting around the moon for just like a joyride, or you get into some crazy yellow submarine, down there that's controlled by a PlayStation just to say, I seen the Titanic. In other words, what I'm saying is, I feel like those kind of things shouldn't be news. Now, yes, it needed to be news with this incident. Why? Because people died. And yes, yeah, that's news. But if that had went well, right? What I'm saying to you guys, did y'all ever stop to think, okay, why is this even news? So what? You went to go see it. I mean, I don't know. Some people are fascinated by it. And they're taken back by the rich and the famous. Now, and I think there's a little bit of, I think all of us at some point and to some degree, you're a little bit fascinated by it or a little bit curious by it. I know I am to a certain degree. And the reason why I know, because I found myself watching Netflix series a while back called Bling Empire. And if any of y'all watch it, it is a reality show on Netflix. Now they have like, I think 2 or 3. The original was about basically these Asians, who are extremely rich. So rich that one episode, one of the guys, his father gifted him a watch. And I don't mean any kind of watch. Don't even say Rolex, because Rolex looks like a Timex compared to the watch his father bought him. Do you know how much the watch cost? I cannot lie, y'all. The watch cost $1 million. It's a watch. It tells time. So my whole point is like, yeah, I was a little, at that point, it kind of sickened me and I just stopped watching it. But nevertheless, again, like, that is a prime example of people with so much money. It's just like, yeah, I mean, at this point, you don't even really care, But getting back to the story with the submarine, I really feel like if they had survived, okay, yes, you do a 10-minute interview or whatever here and there, and then after that, it's just pretty much you're just bragging. You're bragging. You're bragging, you know. And it's no different than, like, I always wondered about people. Now this doesn't have, I need to sidetrack for a minute like I normally do. This doesn't have anything to do with money, but I always wonder, like, when people run up to famous people and say, hey, can I get your autograph? Once you get that autograph, what do you do with it? Think, people. Like, you want to tell everybody, right? So yes, it's okay to tell people, but at some point, it does turn into a little bit of bragging. It does. It really does. And it could be very minute that you don't even realize that that's what you're doing. You're kind of bragging a little bit. Like, yeah, I met, so-and-so. I met so-and-so. I was at this stage. I was behind there. It does turn into bragging. And I wanted to get that part of the topic out of the way. I just wanted y'all to think about that for a second. Now, moving on to the next concern about this topic was the fact that it bothered me. It truly bothered me about the young man that went with his father. That right there, I was disgusted once I knew the whole entire story, that young man, he had a feeling. He did not want to go. He told his parents, and you know what? And I'm not trying to sound mean, y'all. God bless her, because that's what she's going to need is God, is the wife. Can you imagine the wife? She also knew that her son did not want to do it. But between her and her husband, from what I read, they pressured him. She kind of pressured him like, oh, do this for your father, blah, blah, blah. He did not want to go. But they were so wrapped up. Now, from what about 2 stories I read as far as what the father had basically thought was basically like, hey, I want to do this with my son. Come on and do this for me. This will be great or whatever. And I'm a little upset that I felt like, as a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, y'all know that, but I'm just saying the way I think a parent should think is, if your child, even though he was a young adult, if your child is saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable, I don't want to do this, then isn't that your job as a parent to kind of just step back and take a breather and say, you know what? Okay, if you don't, Dad could have said, if you don't want to do it, fine, son, I'm not going to make you do this. And if he wanted to still go, he could have went. But I feel like that right there, and I'm sorry, y'all can tell me how y'all feel, but I feel like that was pretty selfish of the dad. I imagined how the conversation could have went. Now, this is me. This is this disclaimer, Pinky Hook's disclaimer. And this is where Shania-ism comes in. Y'all haven't heard that term in a long time. Shania-ism. And for those of you who are new and you're like, what is a Shania-ism? Shania-ism is thoughts that come straight from Shania Lancaster's head, okay? So that means that it is clearly my opinion, but this is how Shania thinks. I imagined that the conversation with the dad when his son told him, I don't want to go. I have a bad feeling. I don't think we should go. I feel like that dad might have said to him, do you know how many people would die for this experience? Or possibly did he say, you are like lucky. People like that normally won't say you're blessed, but they'll say you're lucky. Like, you are privileged to be able to have this experience. There are people out there that have been searching for the Titanic and the treasures that got lost down here. And my son, you actually have access. Like, you'll be able to tell your friends. Basically, this is me imagining possibly, and the reason why I imagined it, because I feel like if your son told you like, hey, this don't feel right. I don't really want to go down there. I don't know if the son, because like I said, I've been reading bits and pieces. I've been discussing it at work, when somebody will bring it up or whatever, talked over with my dad, and you're still finding out new information every day about it. But in my mind, I feel like this is the perfect example of, hey, basically, like, do you know whose son you are? I am so and so, and I have so many dollars, and this is my kind of money. Our kind of money gets you this kind of access, which in turn shows you how it turns into bragging, but it also turns into selfishness when you have that much money. Because to me, in my mind, the way I'm looking at the father, and I know he's deceased too. Well, everybody's deceased, but you know what I mean. I feel like at that point, yeah, greed starts taking over, and selfishness, self-indulgent tendencies or behaviors. Because at that point, it was just like, you're not listening to your kid. You're not taking into consideration anything he's saying. You're just like, you're only thinking about what you want at that time. I'm sorry. And I know everybody's going to be like, Shania, you don't know what he was thinking. No, I don't. That's why I said this is Shania-ism. But looking at the little bit of facts that we do have, and knowing that this kid did not want to go, but everybody was kind of like, and when I say everybody, I'm talking about between his mom and dad, like, that's why I said I feel sorry for the wife, because I don't even want to think about the fact that she is sitting there now like, my husband and son is gone. And she was, she kind of egged the son on too. From what I read, I felt like it was very selfish of that father. And yeah. The other thing about having that kind of money is that it makes you blind. It makes you blind sometimes to common sense. You're telling me that all these people, I mean, these were not like Beyonce, Jay-Z rich. These are billionaires, like, like, I can't even say that country name. Where everybody want to go that's super duper rich. What is it called? Abu Dhabi? Oh, no, wait a minute. Dubai? I was so horrible with pronunciation, y'all. But y'all know what I'm talking about. That real rich country over there. Yeah. That's the kind of money these people had. Yup. Yeah. I think that that's what happened. I think that it took over their common sense. I did not understand how y'all could be that rich and don't have any common sense. When you saw the whole setup, you saw the setup. Now, these are people who they're smart at investing money, making more money on top of money, keeping the money growing, investing here and there. You got to be super duper smart. But for 1 second, you looked at, I'm calling it the Yellow Submarine, y'all, like the Beatles song. Isn't that the Beatles? The Yellow Submarine? We all live in the Yellow Submarine. Is that it? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, with all that smart and monies that you have, you didn't take a look at that little submarine and then saw somebody with like a little PlayStation controller and was just like, has this even been approved by the government? Nope. Y'all was all about, look, we got to be the first down there. We got to say, yeah, like we were down there. And then basically, what this reminds me of, y'all? I told my dad this. Have y'all ever seen Jurassic Park, the third one? I know there's so many of them. Let's just go back. Let me give y'all a reminder. So remember in the third one, excuse me, how it opens up is that you see a man and a small boy. They are, what is that? What is that? Sailing or that's not real hang gliding, but whatever. They had the parachute. And so the boy is strapped onto the man, remember? And it's a boat that's driving around, while they're attached to the boat, but they're up above. And the whole entire thing was that man was the boy's boyfriend, and he was rich. And he figured it'd be cool, like, can't nobody else do this. We're going to go ahead and we're not going to go on the island, but we can, get a little bit of clearance and fly over it and see if we can see anything. See, that money, they had no business going near that island, but they thought that money could basically make them an exception. Right? And matter of fact, now that I think about it, I think that happened in the second one too, because the second one, you saw a rich woman and husband, they came to the island and they were rich and they figured it's a private beach or whatever. They weren't supposed to be there. And the little girl, she's playing in the sand. Y'all remember that? And she goes to feed one of them little tiny, tiny, tiny dinosaurs. Looked harmless. But then a whole crowd of them came out and attacked the little girl. Again, the reason why I'm giving y'all these analogies, that's what me and my dad was talking about. I said that was the prime example of people with too much money. They thought that they were the exception. I have money, right? Yeah, I know this island isn't for, everybody. And I know that, possibly there's some things on here. We're just going to sit near the edge. We'll be fine. Why? Because we have money. Things like that don't happen to us because we're rich. And it's like they lose common sense. Like they done gained all this moolah and all this green and they got generational wealth and, just money coming out their ears. But somewhere along the way, they lost common sense. I'm sorry. Nobody's ever going to be able to change my mind on this. It does not make sense to me. And so when people are running around, going berserk every time that lottery, the Mega Millions, my dad was shocked that I even played what was not the last couple of ones, but I don't know, one earlier this year, maybe last year, because I don't believe that I will ever win. So I just don't play it. I'm very good at winning something like bingo. I win some bingo. I might win $2 off a scratch off, which is basically a washout, but I feel like I will never win. Not because I'm just like a non-believer, but because I feel like, this is just me, I feel like because God knows me, like, I feel like he knows that it would corrupt me. And people be like, nah, I would keep my head on straight. Nah, you don't know what you would do. Y'all seeing what the Mega Millions have been getting up to? Like over the past 2 years, we're talking about up to like $1 billion or close to it. Now, yes, I know what y'all going to say. The government is going to take out a lot of taxes. He's going to take that money, but I'm like, so what? Okay, if the lottery is at 900 million, right? And then y'all like, oh my God, but he's going to take like, I don't know, 30 million. I don't know why people get upset about that. I'm sorry. I know I'm veering off into something else. People literally get upset about that. My friend, that's right. And they know who I'm talking about, Anil. Anil will do the calculations. He'd be like, man, oh my God. Like if I was to win, they going to take like, I don't know, like 100 million. I'm like, oh, but the lottery was for 900 million. You upset that I know the government, they got to get their little part. Or take their part all the time. But I'm like, dude, you're still left over with money you'll never be able to spend in your entire life. You had to really do something reckless with it to be broke again. Yeah, we've heard of that, but I'm talking about that kind of winnings. Anyway, so going back to what it does to you, I feel like that's why I get mad when I find out that one person won all of that money. I feel like that's too much for one person to handle. You think that you'd be like in heaven, but I'm telling you, when you get that kind of money, it seems like you just lose common sense. I feel like people who have that kind of money, there's usually one person in the family that is level-headed about it. Why? Because it's passed down from generation to generation. But then all of a sudden, you come upon people like that went down there, and I just don't know what they're thinking, except for it brings me back to the very beginning of this conversation. It just turns into bragging rights. And I think it's sickening when it turns into bragging rights, because here are common everyday people like me and you. We're out here where, we're hustling, bustling. Some of us are struggling, living from paycheck to paycheck. Some of us don't even have a pot to piss in. And here you got people that's like, yeah, I'm going to go down to the depths where the Kraken and Leviathan live, just so I can get a peep of the Titanic. And say, I seen it. And then make everybody else watch it on the TV like it's real news. It's not real news, folks. It's just people showing off. I'm sorry. It is. And I am really, really sad. The only person I really felt sorry for, I don't want to sound cold and y'all be like, oh, we thought you were nice. But I'm just saying, yes, it's sad that all of them lost their lives. But to me, what my heart goes out to was that young man, because he knew inside that something was wrong. He knew, like, this isn't going to end well. And I literally almost shed a tear, because my imagination will run. I can't stop it. It's hard to reel my imagination back in. I just let it take off. And I started thinking, like, when they was in that submarine, and then can you imagine what was going through their minds as my dad just told me the words. I was like, Dad, what is that called? When it starts to cave in. And he was just like, Daddy, what did you say? Was it decompress or compression? Whatever the case is, y'all know what happened. Could you imagine being in there and you saw what was about to go down, and there's nothing you can do? You are like 80,000 leagues beneath the sea. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I can only imagine what that young man was thinking. Was he yelling at his dad like, I told you, you made me do this? I mean, I don't know. There wasn't enough time for people to put a plan together. Nothing. I mean, at least with the Titanic, when it sunk, I mean, yeah, it was a slow sinking according to the movie. I hate that movie. But anyway, yeah, they had a little bit of time to get it together. Oh, they had a good amount of time, because from what I remember from that movie, didn't they say that, they had enough time to say first class people only. The rest of y'all get down to the bottom of the ship. That was awful. See, there's another point. Now let's move on to the Titanic. I didn't even think about that. That's the classic example of what money does to people. Now, if that movie was, I know that there was a lot of Hollywood drama in there, or whatever, but basically they were still talking about real events that happened. And those people who were not rich, like people every day, like me and you, was forced down to the bottom of the ship, and we need to make sure that the rich people get a raft. We got to make sure we preserve them. There in itself. Now, some of y'all will be like, well, Cheyenne, come on. If you had been on Titanic and you were super duper rich, you wouldn't have been like, hey, I'm rich. I need to get on the raft first. I'm not talking about what money actually does for you. I'm talking about what money does to you. And that's a big thing to think about, because a lot of times people who have that kind of money, or people who want to rub elbows with people that have that money, they don't even realize that they may not be rich, but just because they know somebody that's rich and they want to rub elbows, they don't even see that someone else's money and wealth is changing them. Isn't that crazy? That's why money is insane to me. Y'all remember a couple of videos back, and y'all hear me say, like, I don't chase a dollar. There's a reason why I don't chase a dollar. And I never want to get to that point, because all I have ever seen money do is make people lose their minds and their souls. That movie bothered me. That's why everybody else loved that music. That movie. And I guess y'all like to sing whatever that song is by Celine Dion, where Jack looked like he gonna push her off the thing. I don't know what she be doing. I can't stand that movie, whatever the case is. Anyway, what I'm saying is, damn it. Now, see, I done complained about that movie, and I forgot what I was about to say. I was just like, yeah, whatever. It'll come back in my mind. But nevertheless, I'm still on the same part where I'm talking about what money will do to you. Yeah, it corrupts you, And for people who always mess up the Bible, and it makes me so mad, when people be like, yeah, money is the root of all evil. It is not. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says the love of money is evil. Not money is the root of all evil. It's the love of it. That's why God tries to warn us. Like, he's not saying you can't be rich. And I'm not saying that you can't be rich. If one of my subscribers won, one of them mega millions, good on you. But what I'm saying is, please, please guard your heart and your common sense. Don't let it take you down a rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, let's look back in history. I'm gonna give y'all a couple examples of what having too much money does. Okay? Who? Oh, it was Michael Jackson. Now, I love Michael Jackson. Want to be starting something? You got to be starting something. Too high to get over. Yeah. I love Michael Jackson. Everybody know I love Michael Jackson. But Michael, the older he got, just, I don't know. I don't want to say he became weirder and weirder, but yeah, y'all saw what happened. The fact that he was willing to pay anything and everything for some elephant man bones. Y'all remember that? Y'all probably forgot. I'm here to remind you. Y'all remember when Michael Jackson, and it made another thing. Love the man, but it made the news that Michael Jackson was so rich at the time that he went ahead and paid good, clean, American, wholesome money for some bones from the elephant man? John Merrick? And I love the story of John Merrick. It was a sad but inspiring story about the elephant man. But he had to have those bones. Again, now, we all know, and I like to remember the Michael that I remember growing up with or whatever before. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I know that he was, in the beginning, he was a kind, super duper kind person. I think he was kind to the end, but just a little eccentric. What I'm saying is that I think with all that money, he isolated himself, and that's what made him kind of weird. He just started doing weird things. What was the purpose of having them bones? To say, I got the bones. Come over my house. And you bring people over or whatever. Be like, hey, you want to see the elephant man's bones? Look, I got it right over here in this glass case. It becomes a bragging point at that point. I don't understand. And if y'all saying, well, Cheyenne, it's like a collector's items. It's a collector items for the elephant man's bones? No, you collect baseball cards. You collect rocks. You collect coins, I'm not collecting bones, the elephant man. It's just weird. I'm trying to think of something else that people have done with their money, and then you're just like, what? I mean, and I could bring it down on a little lower level where people have just won the lottery, like somebody who never had money before. See, well, and I ain't going to say they didn't have any common sense. They're just excited because they've never been exposed to that kind of money. But you'll hear somebody that will say, oh, I'm going to be nice and generous. I'm going to say after taxes, maybe they came out with $50 million. And you and I are like, oh, yeah, I'm done. I can live off of $50 million. I can actually give away large amounts of monies to different family members, co-workers, friends, whatever, right? But then I've heard these stories. They won $50 million and you went out and bought a jet? The person didn't take into consideration, like, do you know how much it costs to fuel a jet? Where you going to keep it? You got to pay for that area too. Like, think. Money will make people lose their minds. And I'm not even really sure if that's fair to say money will make it. I don't know. The spirit gets in you and takes away your common sense. And that's what happened with these people in this submarine. God rest their souls. And I have not read any latest updates, because I remember everybody at work was just like, oh yeah, you better believe the remaining, the families that lost these people in the submarine, they gonna sue that guy with the guy that designed it. And you know what? I got mad and I said, oh no. If you knew your family was about to take some crazy daredevil, basically it was a suicide mission, and y'all was down for it, right? Because you thought that everything was going to go right, and now you want to sue that man? That's what I'm saying. It makes you goofy. Makes you lose common sense. Because had the demise of those people had not happened, I'm going to tell you what would have happened. I'm going to tell y'all. Those billionaires would have came back. Oh my God, fantastic trip. They would have did their little interviews, did their bragging on and on and on, right? And then they would have been like, boom, guess what? We got to market it. And we can make this like a vacation destination. And we could charge like, $250,000 for people to go down. We need to make more of these crazy little submarines and have them operating with Nintendo or PlayStation controllers. They would have marketed it. They would have branded it. And they would have sold it to me and you. Now, the scary thing is that some of us who are watching this video as I speak, for 1 second, you would have been like, oh yeah, if they had been successful, I probably would have, I might wanted to go. No, not Shania. Because I truly believe there are some places on Earth and in space that God did not intend it for man to go. Now, okay, so now I'm about to say something real crazy, y'all, because I'm still stuck in Shania-ism. Now, here's another thing, and I told my dad this. This ain't got nothing to do with the money part. But do y'all think about this. The fact that these people, they're looking at like, we're going to go see the Titanic. But basically what they was doing was chasing a ghost ship. You know how many people died on that thing? What? I would not. I don't care if it was something like that submarine and everything had been kosher. I would never have dared to even go anywhere in the realms near that water. I mean, wherever the Titanic sank. You know why? Because I'm going to tell y'all how my mind thinks. I'd have been like, you got a lot of disturbed, unrested spirits that's down in those waters where that ship is. Is it possible that maybe their spirits that was restless was like, oh, here comes somebody seeking us out? Yeah, you can come and stay down here with us, join the party. Basically, think about it. It's like The Shining. It's like The Shining. The Shining. Remember the concept? All those crazy things was happening. Those spirits were still there. And they needed another spirit. And they got Jack. Shelley Duvall and her crazy looking self, she made sure her and her special gifted son got the hell out of there. But what I'm saying is Jack got pulled in. And next thing you know, you looking at the end of the movie and he up in there with that crazy smile staring at you because he trapped with them people. Like, I was just like, that's how Jack Nicholson smiled. He was like, let me stop. That's how y'all know I'm really tired. Anyway, but that was just me thinking out loud. Them spirits down there. So everything I said is a little bit of truth of everything. I just want y'all to think about that. Tell me what y'all think about that. I just think it's just, people got to be aware of how much money they got. So there's a couple things that y'all need to reflect on from this conversation. Let's do a quick recap. That's what they be saying to me at work all the time. Every time we have a meeting, then we get out the meeting and we got to have a meeting about the meeting we just had. And then we got to have a meeting about the meeting we're going to have. And they always be like, here's a quick recap. Like I want to remember anything. Anyway, recap. So too much money makes you lose common sense. Too much money, and then it makes you have access, or you now have access basically to do something or obtain something just really for bragging purposes. That's really all it is. Money will make you lose your mind and forget about loved ones because all you're worried about is yourself. That's what happened with that dad and that son. God rest their souls. Yup. Money will make you think that you're like common laws do not apply to you. And I'm not talking about like justice laws. I'm talking about just, like, oh, well, yeah, I know it's a risk, but I'm rich. That's not going to apply to me. What could possibly go wrong? And my dad told me, I got to wrap this up because I think Ruby biting on baseboards. My dad told me that, he said that, oh, dag, Ruby, you made me forget what I was going to say. Whatever. Anyway, it's time to wrap it up anyway. Tell me what y'all think about this conversation. I know I was all over the place or whatever, but that's me full of energy. Because when I went to work today, you know what people said to me? They said, Shania, you look like you got rest. You look vibrant. You're cheery. And I was all day, y'all. I don't know. I woke up something good. Now, I know this is the end of the video, but I gotta tell y'all probably why I'm like, it's, I know some of y'all don't care, but man, I think it's because I bought a new Bible. I went to Hobby Lobby yesterday to get something that I cannot wait to show y'all because y'all need to know this information, okay? So that's coming up this weekend. But as I was out on the checkout line, and if y'all ever go to Hobby Lobby, y'all know they got the books and the CDs, right? And I knew that they sell Bibles. And I have a Bible, but it's the very first Bible that my aunt gave to me back literally on Christmas Day in 1979. And she signed it and said, to Shania, Princess Lancaster, 1979, December 25th, blah, 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 from my Aunt Kathleen. And so I cherish that Bible. So think about that. That's 1979. I am now 52. That Bible is hanging on for dear life because all the pages have fallen out or whatever. So anyway, to bring up the speed. So I'm not going to get rid of it because that is part of my childhood. It was my first Bible. So I know I finally needed to break down and buy, number one, an adult Bible and just buy a new Bible. And I was standing in line. I was like, they still got the King James and the New King James. I guess I can't read King James because that's the one where they be like thou and hath and art not. And I'll be like, I don't even know what I'm saying, And then the New King James version is not so much of that. But I like, the other versions like the modern English version and NIV and, But anyway, so I saw one. And it was NIV, and it was the only one, and it was on sale because Bibles are expensive for y'all. For those of y'all who are either you're not a believer or you just don't know how much a Bible is, they are extremely expensive. I don't know why, but whatever. Yeah, $13.99, and I came home and I was like this, y'all. I had the Bible. I hurry up and got in the bed and I made myself all nice and comfy after I took my shower or whatever. And I had the Bible and I was just like, because it was new. And I was like, and on top of that, it's the large print because I'm getting older now, and I really didn't want to put on my readers. I said, oh, and they got large print. I was just like, oh, look, I'm going to read Samuel 1. I know, I'm just keeping y'all on because I feel like hanging out with y'all. But I got my point across. So leave in the comments below. Y'all have to comment on the Bible, not unless you want to, but leave what y'all think about this whole theory about having excessive amount of money and the stupid things that it will cause people to do. And may God rest their souls. Seriously, I'm still upset about that young man because that really did bother me. And y'all might want to comment on the fact that if most of y'all are parents, do y'all see when your child, I don't care if they're an adult, if your child feels really adamant about something, isn't it your responsibility to be like, oh, let me take a step back. Stop thinking about what you want. Why is that child saying that? We're not talking about them just throwing a tantrum or being snotty and spoiled. We're talking about if you are really connected to your child, wouldn't you have seen like, wait, my child is really scared. Like they're really concerned about this. Maybe this isn't a good idea. Yeah. And on that note, the way I'm going to close out is with a bit of trivia. Oh, this is my favorite part, y'all. I was saving this part. Did you know who did not get on the Titanic? Now, there was 2 people that you guys know, or you've heard of their names. One, the Vanderbilts. They were supposed to go on this cruise, and they did not. Okay, they had heard about this fabulous cruise. You know about this great ship that y'all heard that quote that somebody said even God couldn't sink it himself, and y'all saw what happened. Anyway, yes, the second person is my person. Do y'all realize that if this man had have gotten on the Titanic, you and I in America would never have gotten to experience the famous Hershey bar. That's right, folks. Hershey was supposed to be on the Titanic. Yep. He was supposed to be on Titanic. He had only started the Hershey business. I think he was maybe into his 2nd year. And so it was still new and running, and he had been promising his wife. His wife was just like, yeah, we got our own business. I want to go on that vacation. I want to go. You promised me. And guess who he was friends with? He was friends with Vanderbilt. And they was like, yeah, we're going on that cruise. So he was like set to go. But the night before that they were supposed to get on the Titanic, Hershey had a bad feeling, not about the trip. He didn't want to leave his brand new business. He was just like, maybe now not the time. You know, I've got this business up and running. And he disappointed. And his wife was mad. She was mad, right? Because she's like, oh, I wanted to go on the thing. And the Titanic went down without our beloved American chocolate Hershey. Woo! Thank you, Lord. That's awful. I may seem to have been a little bit morbid in this video, but anyway, yeah, that's a bit of fun trivia for y'all. So every time you go to eat a Hershey bar, say, ooh, Hershey, thank God you ain't get on that boat. And I bet you his wife stopped complaining. She probably read that newspaper and shut her mouth up for the rest of the time they was married. Let me get out of here, y'all. It was good to talk to y'all. Until next time, folks, take care of yourselves. Don't be consumed with money to where you lose your sense, okay? All right. Bye-bye.